La jambe. Ah, mais j'ai fait pareil que j'ai ajouté des vis, après j'ai pas tout mis les vis. Ouais, c'est ça.
This week at La Ferte, it was all hands on deck, and we weren't going to let the opportunity of having so many people in the house go to waste, starting off with the dining room table swap that was long overdue.
Je t'allonge dessus.
Plus basse que celle-là, hein. C'est 70, mais ça va.
Ce sont des bois différents.
C'est des bois différents. Qu'est-ce que tu penses? Ça va, hein?
J'adore.
However, there was a much bigger project planned for the weekend, bringing down the floor in our future kitchen. But first, we had to clear out everything.
Ça c'est quoi? C'est l'encaille. Parce que le reste c'est quoi? C'est
des chutes de parquet.
Des chutes de parquet.
Parquet, il y a un peu de feutre. On est sur du bois d'arbre, monsieur.
Je mets ça dehors.
Les genoux.
Hein?
Oublie les genoux, monsieur.
Tu mets là,
C'est assez lourd, à mon avis, ça passera très bien. Voilà. Essaye, on va le mettre. Non, ça fait une dizaine de kilos, c'est pas non plus la mort. C'est tout ça le truc que tu vas aller voir.
Voilà.
Oui, ça va. C'est mieux.
Ouais, c'est bon, c'est bon. C'est bon? Ok.
Ouais.
Ouais, tu vas
Doucement.
Comment tu vas?
Ils ont pas. Ouais,
Voilà. Ça va? Tu le tiens là?
Oui. Le mur la tient maintenant.
Hein?
On peut y aller? Il y a urgence.
2, 3. Voilà.
Et on va où? C'est bon pour nous, c'est ça?
Je lève.
On est parti, quand tu le sens.
Welcome back to the Future Kitchen. It's been a busy couple of days, but we managed to take the old plancher out, the old 18mm OSB out, and we're starting to replace it with the 22mm. And why is that? The 18mm is just fine, but it wasn't adapted for the use that we're gonna have. We had our friends over and we disassembled the floor in order to see how we could do to gain some height. As we know, we want to repurpose the old tomate, we're like 3 centimeters thick, and clearly the last owner wanted to bring the floor up, so he would do a thinner tile, whatever other material he would do. So our job was to bring the floor down. Actually, this wasn't very difficult because the structure of the floor was thought out to hold a thick tomate flooring with a huge underfloor. Back in the day, it was sand mortar. So we were halfway there. Now, taking off the OSB that was laid down by the previous owner, we realized that he had laid down a strad of pine, like this one, on top of this, right here you can see it better, of this tasseau that he used to level the floor and to give also a bit more height. We don't need all that, but this thickness would make a huge difference. So we took these out. We got our height for the tomate, but right here in the middle, the soliveaux are more than 50 centimeters apart. So here is somewhere where, like for instance, the 18mm OSB could eventually move and crack the joints of our tomates. As the soliveaux are spaced in sort of random intervals, the bigger ones, we needed another layer of support. So this is why we repurpose these guys into these guys right here.
So basically these areas, these wider gaps here,
Yeah.
needed a little bit more structure than here where these beams are a lot closer together.
Yes, the 18mm OSB is really good, but it was not enough for what we're doing. Like the tomates are really heavy and we need to be really on the soliveaux. As we're gonna lay down the tomates on a specific glue, a tomate glue, we're not doing the old pose with a mortar, etc. This is the last incarnation of these tomates. This has to last a lifetime. So I think all the work was worth it because now with the 22mm OSB, we're good to go. I got in touch with a friend of ours, like an engineer, and he told us that for this spacing, the 18mm OSB could take a charge of 150 kilos per square meter. Sorry, Americans. And now we're above 200. So that's a go.
Plus we'll have the oven, a table, people.
Absolutely. And of course, this 200 per square meter is in a dynamic, you know, people coming and going and etc., etc. So this is going to be a lot of work. I don't know, I think it will take me a good week, but also we have to work in between. Gonna lay down these OSB panels and then figure out a way of laying down the tomates.
We have one part of the wall back here that we need to stabilize because there are some missing stones, and before we touch the rest of the joists, we need to make sure that everything is stable along the periphery. And so we're going in with some lime mortar and some stones that we've just had laying around, and hopefully this will be done tonight so we continue tomorrow.
Ouais, super. Voilà. À l'endroit où tu vas mettre ton mortier, il faut que ce soit propice à l'accueil. Voilà, super.
Ok. Magnifique. Bon, allez, mortier. D'accord.
Tu jettes. Tac. Voilà.
Ouais.
Tac. Tac. Voilà. Et c'est là qu'on commence l'empierrage. Allez, mise en pierre. Rappelle-toi, ça passe par le bac à eau, bien sûr. Voilà. Bien nettoyé. En tout cas, le plus nettoyé possible. Hop, petite brosse. Petit peu d'eau. C'est fait, voilà.
Je peux y aller?
Ouais, tu peux aller, chef. Exactement, bien. Voilà, tu vois.
Là, non mais attends, là on dépasse.
Ah voilà, exactement. C'est à toi de faire le choix.
Là.
Super. Il faut pas taper à plat parce que sinon tu vas créer des bulles. Tu peux passer un petit peu d'eau pour venir un petit peu, tu vois, recréer cette surface là. Qui est déjà, tu vois, sec au toucher là.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais ici, Marcello?
Petit café, petit toast.
Donc le studio est devenu cuisine.
All right, so we had a very freaky power outage the other night. We had our friends over, the people who were helping us with the plancher, another musician that was playing with Rennie. Everyone was in the house just having dinner, and then the lights started flickering and they just went out. All right, okay, we're preparing dinner, so maybe, you know, the circuit breaker just went down or something. But when we got to the tableau électrique, that was not the case. All the circuit breakers were on and, you know, like everything was normal. So that kind of freaked us out, because if the circuit breakers are on and we have no power, what's happening? How were the lights out on the ground floor, only on the ground floor, and none of these disjoncteurs were down? So we spent that night under candlelight. The next day in the morning, me and my friend Thierry, who's a diagnostiqueur, who knows a lot about this stuff, we try restarting the system, you know, with the main switch here. We took these carters out of these guys and we started screwing the connections, because sometimes some of the connections can be loose, become loose au fil du temps. We did all that, trying to figure out where things were coming from. And what we figured out is what we knew. You should never, ever, ever do electricity by yourself unless you're an electrician. We could see that the system is really not up to code, like far from being up to code, especially French code. The house is wired in a way that no French electrician wants to touch the system. That being said, we were already planning on changing the whole system. This outage just made things more urgent. We also figured out that some of the wires used were not the right diameter for the kind of work they've been put through. So that might be the reason we had this panne électrique, which is very dangerous, because if the circuit breaker is not coming down, that means that it might surchauffer to the point that we will have electric fire. What we want to do is just completely replace the system and feel safe in our house again.
Oui, c'est les vis qui vont rapprocher contact le plancher.
Et ça va.
Exactement, ça fera le job. Voilà, 2 points, super. Non, Gustavo, tu viens de mettre de la colle.
Tu fais gaffe à tes pieds.
C'est pas grave. Voilà, je suis côte alerte. Attention, on y va, on s'en sort. C'est pas grave si ça arrive. Hein, ça pas... Voilà, super. Je contre. Super. Clac. Le 22, il est quand même costaud. Hein. Et à un moment, tac.
We'd like to give a huge shout out to Marcello, Isabelle, and Thierry for all their help and expertise on these first steps in our kitchen project. We really couldn't have done it without them. Speaking of support, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on your notifications. We're still a small channel and we need all the support we can get.
I don't know if you guys remember, but in a previous video, we did a test, a high test with a tomate, and the tomate was right here, going over a few millimeters on this part. Now, we have a good couple of centimeters, even 2.5, 3, that we can use, and the finished product will be something like this. This will give us a really nice margin. We can do whatever we want. And even here with this door, this was the most critical part. We're good to go.
Yeah, we have loads of space.
We have loads of space here.
Great.
All right.
Structural problems, unadapted floors, dangerous power grid. Owning a chateau is not for the faint of heart. Do you think it's worth the trouble? Would you do the same? Let us know in the comments. As for us, we'll keep working. See you next time!